All right, day number 14 of 365 Science of Mind. My name is Antonio Thornton, and I want to thank you guys for joining me on this journey. So, day number 14, the lesson for today, the title is "The Spirit in Me is Perfect." And the quote here is, "The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life." And this is Job 33:4. And the text reads, "Each of us is a spirit, but we don't always recognize this greatest of all truths about ourselves. We do not always consciously invite the communion with the Spirit or open all the doorways of our thought in complete acceptance. The Bible tells us to let that mind be in us that was in Jesus, which of course is the mind of God and the invisible guest in every person." And the affirmation and meditation for today is, "I know that this invisible guest within me, the angel of God's presence, is counseling me wisely, leading me unerringly, directing my thoughts and actions in harmony, in peace, in poise, in love, and in cooperation." And going down just a little further here, "I know that the great giver of life is giving through me that gift which is gladly made, which returns multiplied and goes out again to increase its blessing and to multiply its own good as it blesses others." And I'm going to read a couple more sentences here. "I know there is a presence that came with me when I entered this life, and I know that this same presence will go with me when I leave this physical form, for it is the presence of eternal life, the life that cannot die." And I'll read this last couple of sentences here. "I feel this presence as life, love, and goodness, and experience its action as power and certainty. It is with me today, making my life whole and complete." So I would say the thing I would want to emphasize about this lesson is, from the very first couple of sentences, each of us is a spirit, but we don't always recognize this greatest of all truths about ourselves. And this we hear a lot in a lot of spiritual circles, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And whereas that is the truth, we don't always act as if it is. We act as if this physical, fleshy body of ours and the physical things, the microphone, the books, and the things that we see around us, we believe that these things are physical things that are separate from each other, because that's the way they appear. When we think about our senses, sight, I can see that this book is over there. I can see that the microphone is right here. I can see that. When we think about our sense of sound, I'm seeing these words, and there's this device that's digitally recording these words, and you may be sitting in front of a device that's digitally interpreting these sounds and playing them through a speaker, and then you're physically hearing these sounds on your through the air through to your ears, and then that's being processed the way that sound is being processed. We think about taste, we think about touch, we think about our physical senses are the things that we've come to rely upon as human beings. We rely upon our senses. If you're walking down the street and you hear a dog barking and that barking is getting louder and louder and louder, that's telling you that danger, imminent danger may be near. And it tells you to run or do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. And being that we rely on our senses as much as we do, that is the very thing that has us to forget that each of us is a spirit. We don't always recognize this greatest of all truths about ourselves. We do not always consciously invite communion with the Spirit or open all the doorways of our thought in complete acceptance. We don't automatically know and remember and recognize that here I am, this spiritual entity that is creating all of this which I see in front of me. It's creating all of this while simultaneously I'm observing it. And that can get into a tricky conversation in itself, which we will save for another day, or maybe discuss in a different podcast or video series. But we are that creator. We are that source creating through us. We are that, because we cannot be separate from it. We cannot be. As much as we would like to think we are, as much as we would like to believe that we are, as much as I think this book is actually being held in my hand and not a part of the same spiritual, energetic soup that we are all a big part of. Me believing that illusion is still believing in illusion. It is still believing in illusion. And that's the thing that really jumps out for me, and this is those first couple of sentences. And there's a few other things that it talks about. I know that this invisible guest within me is counseling me wisely, leading me unerringly, directing my thoughts and actions in harmony. And I'm not going to really focus on those for this particular lesson, because at the end of the day, those things can be seemingly irrelevant without recognizing the former, which is we are spiritual beings and not these physical, fleshy beings that we are perceiving ourselves to be, that we see ourselves as, and when we look at other people and see them as, we are all a part of this universal, energetic soup. That if you could imagine all of the things that go into a soup, I mean, even though they may still look to be separate, all these things are part of this one dish that we call a soup, and we are just that. We are just that. And that is the thing that is so powerful, so powerful and almost unbelievable, that's why I say without that recognition, some of these other things almost become irrelevant. So I'm going to leave you with that thought and the practicality of recognizing, knowing, believing that our senses, though as powerful as they are and as much data as they provide our brains to function, are participating in an illusionary experience, and that the greater truth is that we are these spiritual beings. Remind yourself of that daily. Remind yourself of that hourly, moment by moment, if possible. And you'll be amazed at how your life is changed in the realization that you are a spiritual being having a human experience and not the opposite way around. That's it for today's lesson, day number 14. The link for the book is in the description, and I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. That is what I ask to help keep this awesomeness going. So, with that being said, we will look forward to seeing you on tomorrow for day number 15.